Welcome to the Orange Crush podcast, where even you cannot hear us refer to coaches as gardening tools. You know, if you know, is all we're going to say. We'll have more on that certain gardening tool later and how it pertains to Clemson. But, David, the aftermath, a little bit later. It's December 1st now. So, happy early Christmas to everybody.
Oh,
And it's going to be quite the experience for the next several weeks. But we got a game. One final game in the regular season to focus on. Clemson takes down South Carolina 28-14. We tried to film this in the press box, but maybe they shut down the Wi-Fi as we were trying to record to talk about some performances, because I went to edit that sucker and David and I were moving at like one frame a second. And I was like, I don't think we want to put this out. So we're back Monday morning with a little bit more of a clearer picture. And David, I'm going to let you start painting that picture. What you got for me?
well, let's just for 2 minutes, let's recap that win over South Carolina. Clemson's defense held South Carolina to 14 points. Lenore Sellers throws for a bunch of yards. A couple of big chunk plays helped that. Jaden Lucas came in for one play, gives up the 74-yard touchdown pass. Nick Harbor had a 53-yarder. And the Gamecocks were able to move the football at times, but 1 of 11 on third down, 1 for 3 on fourth down kind of told the tale. Sellers, after running wild against Clemson the year before, gets 2 yards on 12 carries. And again, that is sack-adjusted yardage. And he was sacked 5 times for minus 26 yards. So you could say he ran 7 for 28, is my math right there. But that's still really good. So Clemson able to come up defensively, offensively, made the plays when they had to get the big 2-point conversion. And now it's whatever math you want to use. Clemson's won 2 out of 4, 3 out of 5, 9 out of 11, or 74 out of how many ever, to go 30 ahead. But just a great, day for the Tigers. Because going to a bowl game with a loss to South Carolina just would not have felt the way that it does now. Everybody knows there's still issues. Some of those issues popped up Saturday. But now you go into bowl season thinking it feels a little bit better because you have the win over the rival.
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk about legacy this week and how certain Clemson players may fare in terms of favorability. And I'll just cite a reference on my end is a text from my sibling and loving brother who said in all caps after a fourth down stop over Lenore Sellers, I partially apologize to Wade Woodats, as just kind of a fun tongue-in-cheek way of saying thank you for your service today. I don't know how I feel about the rest of the year, but you came up and beat your rival. And as he described it to me when I asked him about it, was the season is a lot different at 7-5 because they beat, let's say that it's a 7-5 and those wins don't include a win over Florida State and South Carolina. He says, and just this is just kind of the estimation of a Clemson fan base. We're just taking one and maybe applying it to a lot of people, but he feels a lot differently about this kind of season since they've taken care of business against some of the hated rivals, particularly the Gamecocks. So I guess that's my next question to you is maybe do the Cade Klubniks, the Wade Woodazes, things look a little bit more favorable for them? Klubnik will be 2-1 against South Carolina. And funny enough, never thrown a touchdown pass, but had plenty of memorable moments through the ground. So I don't know. It's interesting to look at it that way where the season stunk. It was a tumultuous up and down. Nobody wanted 7-5 in August. But a win over South Carolina certainly changes the tenor, at least for now.
For now, and we'll look back on it in a year and see where everything stands. Cade was very, I don't know, he looked almost relieved outside the locker room after the game. He came out, still had his pads on. He had been in his cowboy hat celebrating inside the locker room, everybody taking their photos with the trophy. So we'll have to see how it looks a year and 5 years from now. But now the Tigers have an opportunity to go bowling, and we have been talking about that internally. This is Monday morning. We've been talking about that all morning. And, there's a lot of bowl speculation out there. I will say this, just kind of based on things I've heard and what I can kind of gather from ACC folks and Clemson folks and national media folks. if I had to put my top two bowl destinations out there for the Tigers as it stands right now, the Sun Bowl in El Paso, excuse me, or the Pinstripe Bowl in New York City, all subject to change because we have no idea what's going to happen Saturday between Duke and Virginia in the ACC championship game and how that's going to kind of, work itself out because that's a mess and a disaster. I saw Nicole Auerbach, who does a lot of national work, say if she was the ACC, she would rewrite the rules and just put the top two ranked teams in the ACC title game, which would be Virginia and Miami. Would seem to make the most sense instead of, let's face it, Duke has the same record overall as Clemson. They're 7-5, and the difference is two of their losses were to group of five teams.
Ugly.
What a disaster! So if you like to travel, those two bowl destinations are definitely different. El Paso, Texas, in the middle of nowhere, close to the Mexican border. Ciudad Juarez. I've been in there. I've been down there before. I've been into Ciudad Juarez. My mother used to like to go down there into the markets. Obviously, I just got back from New York City a few weeks ago. Don't mind that either, even though hotel rooms are going to be hard to come by at Christmas. But if I had to say today, those are probably my top two guesses. And that's all they are, is guesses. But there's just a lot of other stuff out there.
Yeah, so either we're gonna go to the set of Breaking Bad or the set of Suits, is what you're telling me for bowl season.
I'll
Two
take you to
wildly different
Carlsbad
locations.
Caverns.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, one, it sounds like it's gonna be a unique ending. Regardless, it's either gonna be on a
Yeah.
baseball field or I'm gonna be able to see Mexico from the press box. I mean, we'll be able to figure it out, I guess. But ultimately for Clemson, it would be, I think the big picture is how you close this season is 7-5, and you have a chance to be. I think Sweeney had said this in his press conference after taking down South Carolina. This is the first time a Clemson team has ever won 7 games after starting 1-3. And there's some momentum, I think, for Clemson going into the offseason, not because this was better than expected, but just because they rallied and now they have a little bit of maybe pep in their step going, okay, there's some momentum here, but there's still that acknowledgement of things have to be fixed, whether that be on the staff or the roster in terms of portal ads. And Sweeney had let it slip. He was like, if I have to go get a safety, for example, then this certainly could do that. It's like, I know what you're doing, Dabo. You're too smart for the things to just kind of slip out there. So does 8 wins necessarily I think that this is putting me in a pretty predicament with the TigerNet folks, but 8 wins. How do we judge this season? Is basically kind of the thesis of the last several weeks. Is I was expecting Clemson to go 5-7 after that Duke loss and kind of just coast through the season, miserably exit off the ramp, and be watching bowl season instead of being an active participant. Does this change at all? I think expectations shifted in October. 8-5 was not on my radar.
Yeah. I don't know that it really changes a whole lot because still 8-5 is not what everybody wants or expects. Right. This is this era. This is the ACC. The ACC, once again, a little bit of a mess. Once you kind of get past those top teams, and how does that show out? Well, it shows up in the fact that Duke is playing in Charlotte Saturday. The ACC's a mess. Clemson could have done a lot better. And 8-5, just it just isn't what everybody expects around here. Not with the money going in, not with the fact that so much of the rev share is going into the football program. How much the head coach makes, how much the assistants makes. It's not going to be an every year type of thing. And this is now a couple of years where the Tigers won 9 last year. 8 this year is a little bit of a regression, and it is a continued regression. And so you go, changes need to be made. I think changes will be made. The question is, when will they happen? I don't think that they happen right now. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of movement maybe this week. I just think that it's going to be the long game for this, trying to figure out where the bowl destination is. Let's get to National Signing Day, which comes up Wednesday, big day. You're going to go down to Alabama to see Clemson Hoops take on the Crimson Tide. But let's kind of get through some of the things maybe before the changes are made. And of course, we all know the big dates that are out there are January 3rd. That is the opening of the transfer portal. And that is when Lane Kiffin is going to back up a Brinks truck to the door of several of his Ole Miss players and players across the country and try to spend his $50 million or whatever it's going to be between rev share and NIL on buying the best roster available. And it's going to be the Wild Wild West. So, I think that it's going to be quiet this week while Clemson tries to line up things. And I'll say this too, and this is something I don't think a lot of people think about, is that while yes, people are saying what moves is Dabo going to make? What moves can he make? There are coaches on staff, some of them who are analysts, some of them who are maybe, one of the 10 staff guys, who are also going to be fielding offers from other programs. It happens every year. And you have to kind of wait and see what happens there. Does somebody leave to go take another job? And this would kind of be the week when a lot of those feelers would be sent out. I already, kind of understand that one of the analysts has been offered a job in an FBF, for an FCS program. So, you just kind of wait and see what happens, what shakes out. Don't expect it really to be this week, but it could be, but I don't expect it.
Before we get back to this video, we'd like to thank the title sponsor for this podcast, Newton, Scott, and Associates. This team is headlined by Jeff Scott, former Clemson assistant coach and two-time national champion, as well as Eric Newton, a longtime local and trusted real estate partner. These two are teaming up to provide a first-class experience for all Clemson fans. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or build in the upstate area of South Carolina, you can trust Newton, Scott, and Associates. Choose the same team that Clemson coaches are selecting when they're looking to buy, sell, or build, all the way from Tigertown to Lake Keowee. For more information, you can find them at newtonscottsc.com or by calling the number 864-722-9062. That's 864-722-9062. Now, let's get back to the video. Yeah, you'd mentioned the important dates that are coming up. The Clemson's got to get this class signed. They got to get the pen to paper and ensure that there may not be any more flips, which there may be one more coming, depending on how things shake out in the next 48 hours. Currently, as it stands, I have my big board of documents, making sure we get these signee analysis things ready to go before I hit the road to Tuscaloosa here in a few days, and just trying to get taken care of all that. One more final question, David, kind of turning this more into a Q&A in a sense, but I couldn't help but think in that press box on Saturday with the way the offense was trying to move in the first half, the way the defense responded after a very, just as Sweeney put it, two of the worst defensive plays he's ever seen. I rewatched those two plays, and I think the first one is more harbor speed than anything. The second one is about as bad as it gets, and I think three different people expected three different people to tackle the guy, and Jacobs just went down the sideline and said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you," and was he was blowing the kisses to the Gamecock fans essentially. He was walking in. But as Sellers with pick six, and things unraveled Saturday night to where Duke is in the ACC championship, I couldn't help but have this thought crossing in my mind. Was this a wasted opportunity, massively wasted opportunity for Clemson, to where even I think after that 1-3 start, had things kind of settled down after the Syracuse game, we could be talking about a Clemson team that's in the ACC championship right now and perhaps knocking on the door to not maybe make the playoffs, but still win your league and still win your conference. It was all in front of Clemson for this year to kind of be as easy as possible when the secondary team in Charlotte is 7-5.
We've said it all year, kind of a missed opportunity, and I think that is the impetus for Coach Sweeney and the coaches to make changes, to make a lot of changes. I think we've started to see some of those changes are already, if you kind of read between the lines, are starting to come to fruition, and they've settled the secondary down somewhat. There were still the two busts that happened Saturday. Ricardo Jones played a great game, still made mistakes. But then you have to ask yourself heading into next season, do you feel comfortable with Ricardo, Khalil if he stays, Ronan Hannafin, like Corian Gibson, who played the nickel and has been really good. Brandon Strozier came in, and I thought maybe a little bit late on the help on the Nick Harbor deal, on the backside help there. Strozier has played okay, came in after Avion Terrell got hurt Saturday. Avion only played 12 snaps, I think. And so it kind of became Brandon Strozier and Ashton Hampton's game. And Ashton would find himself on Nick Harbor a lot. And I thought he did a really good job. So a lot of changes that are coming and a lot of personnel changes. And we get to find out a bowl game destination. Army Navy is this week. Our buddy Jay Guillermo coaching for Navy, coaching the offensive line for the midshipmen. So I'll be pulling for those guys, even though, look, you got to pull for both of those teams unless you were actually in the armed forces somewhere, right? Like those are all our guys. But
Yeah.
I'll be pulling for Jay and his crew and Blake Horvath, the quarterback there. I have Heisman Trophy voting that will start for me Friday, but I'm going to watch some games and wait till maybe Sunday to make my pick. We have All American stuff to vote on. Yeah, regular season may be over, but still lots of college football talk going on.
And what we didn't get to talk about Saturday when we were trying to record in the depths of Williams-Brice Stadium is now Clemson's coaching opponent to open the season has been finalized, and Lane Kiffin will be making his LSU debut against Dabo Swinney and the Tigers in Baton Rouge next August. Just your initial thoughts on Lane Kiffin to LSU. It feels like a calculated risk on his end, and maybe a certain reporter made a calculated risk by calling him out before the move was made. That was certainly something to watch. And with Lane Kiffin, it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be controversial. And Clemson's going to be at the eye of the storm, essentially, for the next several months because that's going to be the opener. It's going to be another one with a lot of storylines, arguably more than last year.
Yeah, it was really funny. I've got a guy that emails me quite a bit, and he said, "What do you think? What do you think about Clemson versus LSU next year in Baton Rouge? Does Clemson have a chance?" And I responded. I was like, "Look, I'm not being snarky, but who's going to be playing for LSU? Who's going to be playing for Clemson? Who's going to be the quarterback? Is he on another roster right now? Is he on Clemson's roster? Who's going to be coaching for Clemson? Who's going to leave in the portal? Who's going to come in? Like, impossible to say because of the way college football has changed. We're going to have to kind of get to January, 20th or so and try and begin and figure some things out. But because by then coaches and players will have found some new destinations, but it's going to be fun. I know that much. Opening up in Baton Rouge.
Oh, you can roll the R's. I can't do that.
Baton Rouge.
I'm not capable of such incredible feats, unfortunately. That's tough. But big week ahead. Brownell and the boys got two big non-con matchups, Alabama and BYU. National Signing Day is Wednesday. I'd expect me to hear from Dabo at some point this week on the new signees. David will have a new header for a podcast or two down the road and has been very creative this year, might I add. So, David, before we wrap this little thing up and get on with the week, do you have any additional final thoughts?
Actually, I do. If you can bear with me for 1 second.
I'm barren. I'm barren. Oh, you're getting up. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. Impromptu, guys. This is how we do things on the podcast. And now I am talking to an empty vase, an empty vessel. And we're going to filibuster here for a few seconds as David has returned.
All right. New sponsor coming on
Yes.
board.
Big one.
Is that your hat
Big
or is that
hat.
my hat?
I think I'm taking the script one.
You like this one?
Oh, yeah.
All right. New sponsor coming on board. And we're going to roll that out because they're going to roll things out, I think, Wednesday. I will let you know more about it as Wednesday comes along, but they are going to have a Clemson apparel line. And I'm really excited about it. I've got some shirts over here on the floor. I've got a shirt for you and some other apparel. So be looking for that. They've got some great stuff. You and I have browsed their catalog and found some stuff we really like.
They've got some swag, and they had some shirts that got, I think if you're looking forward to Christmas gifts or maybe doing some last minute shopping, I think that if you got a friend or a family member that's a Clemson fan or a big hat fan, this is going to be the spot because there's some really great designs, some really unique stuff, and it's going to be launching pretty soon. I mean, that hat is sweet. So, YouTube audience, if you're taking a look at it, Spotify audience, I encourage you to go over to our YouTube page right now to check out this last minute or so because these hats are sweet. And the shirts, the designs, they're nice too. A lot of good stuff. David, thank you for bringing that up. That was very impromptu of you, my friend.
Yeah, I like this hat. I really do.
Yeah, they're sweet. They really are. And you know what else is sweet? Staying subscribed and staying tuned
Mhm.
into TigerNet as we continue to rock and roll. It is officially, I guess not officially yet, but it's sort of like the off season where we've got it's the preseason off season. There it is. Where the bowl game is yet to be set and the season's not over, but we still have off season activities to get to in terms of the football. David Hood, thank you as always for providing some commentary. Congrats on your Broncos for reaching a 10-2 record in
Congrats
the
on your
AFC.
Patriots.
Hey, they got a big one
Collision
tonight, man. They
course.
got maybe an AFC championship. We might have to do a live stream and watch together.
We may
Guys,
have
thank
to
you as always
go.
for oh, you're telling me, man. I'm trying to find Patriots playoff tickets right now. Trying to convince my dad to go up to Boston for a playoff game, and he's not very enthused about going up in the cold. Um, but Drake May will warm up his heart with his play. So I don't know. We'll see. Guys, thank you as always for tuning in. Subscribe for more. Everyone just got a really unnecessary close up of my face, so I apologize for that. Guys, thank you as always. Subscribe for more. God bless y'all. And have a good one.